Have you thought about being a minimalist? We did, and we actually decided to do it. And we're going to share 5 reasons why we became a minimalist. So be sure to subscribe and ring the bell, like our video, and be sure to watch it till the end.
Hi, I'm Char with the C.
And I'm Shar with an S.
And we're not here to sell you something.
We're here to share you something.
This is our 3rd minimalist video that answers the question why we became minimalist. And our topic today is going to be talking about the 5 reasons we became minimalist.
Okay, so the first reason we became minimalist was, well, life just happens. And what happened is Char's mom actually, unfortunately, got dementia, and that changed a lot of things as far as our perspective. And we had to actually clean out her home, and she was an organized hoarder, unfortunately, and kept everything. She literally had receipts from 1969. She had her job application from when she was 17, and she's 80-something years old. She had everything that you can think of from when she first got married, which was at 17, to when she was put into assisted living with dementia. And we had the task of cleaning out her home and selling what we could, taking what we could, which we didn't want much of it because we don't accumulate a lot of stuff. So just going through all of her things and trying to figure out her life, which was very interesting, by the way. But anyway, we decided that's not what we wanted for our daughter. We didn't want to put her in a situation when we were that age or at any point, because you never know what happens in life, that she's going to go through all of our junk or stuff and try to figure out how to get rid of it and how to sell it or whatever. It literally took us 5 months just to go through the first level. We started on the basement and we were just so done. We just said, no, we just have to have somebody come in and just get rid of it, because at that point we didn't want anything more. And so going through that process and literally, sending truckloads and carloads and having Salvation Army come and taking, must have been 200 trips to the Goodwill, and then having a big dumpster thing come to just throw things, and then having a shredding a paper. She was a genealogist. Oh my God. So we actually, had a shredder place come to shred, because it was people's personal information and all that. And it was just so much and so overwhelming to have to go over there every weekend for literally 5 months while we were running the business and everything. And we had a daughter and at home at the time. And it was very stressful for us. And so we decided at that moment, no way are we going to go through this and have our daughter go through this. And what can we do to assure that this won't happen? And we went home and we made sure our wills were, up to date, and our health directives and all that, just because we saw what she was going through and what we had to deal with all of her stuff. And so that was just one of the main life changes that happened, that made us decide to become minimalist. And we came home and we decided, when our daughter went off to college, that we would really downsize. And so we moved to the lower side of our home, which is kind of like a daylight basement, and the other side of our home we rented out. And the lower side of our home was like 750 square feet, maybe to 800. And we lived down there and absolutely loved it. And so this home that we're in right now, even though it's 2 bedrooms and a 2.5 baths, it's 1,700 and something square feet. It's actually feels sometimes too big, and we think that we'll probably eventually try to really look for maybe an 800 or so square feet home. But in moving to the other side, we started to get rid of things, even while we were still in the home, but we rented out the other side of the home. We started selling things on Craigslist and Facebook and all that, and giving things away to people that needed it, and just really loving a smaller space and just using what we, the space that we needed and utilized. That was becoming just so much pleasurable. And so again, for you, there might be a situation, you might be in the same situation that you are helping a loved one downsize, or you had to clean out someone's home and you just saw all this stuff, or maybe you yourself as an accumulator of stuff and you just feel like your life is overwhelmed and you need to get rid of things and change your environment. I would encourage you to do that. I would encourage you to self-reflect and decide and make those changes that you need to change in your life in order to just minimize, your environment and your space, and get, again, clarity in every area of your life if possible. So just do it.
The second reason that we became minimalists is because it costs less money to store less stuff and have less space and less stuff in your life. So an example of that is we own one car. You want to give an example?
And one of the reasons we decided to have one car is Char's car went out and it was ridiculous. We had just put probably $1,000 into it. And we just decided, wait a minute, we're not going to put any more money into this car. We don't want to buy a new car. And we're both home. What do we need two cars for? So we just decided we would just have one car because it just made sense for our lifestyle. And when we thought about the cost of having two, when it came to maintenance and gas and insurance and all those things, we just said we'll just have one car, and it's worked perfect for us. Literally, a month we probably only spend $20 a month or so on gas. Is that about right?
Yeah.
So it's worked great for minimizing our life.
Yeah, and then another example is we will always sell something that we don't need. You want to give an example? So,
what we do is, especially downsizing from 6 bedrooms to 2, we had to get rid of a lot of stuff. And so one of the things we did was we had garage sales. We sold things on Craigslist, Facebook Marketplace. And the money we got from that, we put on investing, our retirement, and also vacations. And the thing is, if you haven't used something in a year, 3 years, or whatever, then you might not really need it. So it's just going through and deciding what is it that I really need, and what is it that I don't need, and then deciding, okay, do I give it away? Do I sell it? And if you decide to sell it, don't just use that money to go out and eat and things like that. Decide if you don't have a retirement, start a retirement account, an individual retirement account. If you do, put more money towards it, or put more money towards your children's college fund, or pay off some of your student loans. And you have to think of that way. So just go through your home and decide what is it that I need and what is it that I don't need. And the things that I don't need, I'll sell it so I can minimize and have more space and more and less stuff.
Yeah, and another example is we don't have to pay money to store useless things and junk that we're not using, so that always works out. You want to talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, regarding the storage and stuff like that, a lot of times, so many people, they have storage units and they're renting them. I don't know how much they cost. I think it's about $100 a month or something like that. But $100 a month over 5-6 years can be, $7,000-8,000. And if you think about it, that money could have been put towards paying off your debt, retirement, maybe you need a car, whatever. But it's just accumulating and storage of things that obviously you must not need if you haven't used it for 5 or 6 years. So if that's the case, then sell it, get rid of it, and put it towards good use. If it's things that you've accumulated from and you inherited or something like that, maybe your mom or your dad would love for you to get a down payment on a house if you don't have a house or something, instead of having it sitting in a storage that is no good and not useful for anyone, including you, if that's where it is.
Yeah, so we pretty much came to the conclusion that by cutting down and removing waste in our lives, we came to the realization that we actually have too much stuff. And maybe you've come to the same realization if you take some time to think about it. The minimalist lifestyle actually creates simple living by focusing on those items. What are the items that add value to your life? Take a moment, pause the recording and just, pause the video and ask yourself, what are the things that add value in my life? Write them down on a piece of paper, on this column, the things that don't add value. In this column, the things that add value. Look at it and take some time with you and your significant other. Ask these questions, because a lot of times we don't even bother to ask these questions.
Right.
If you want to live the minimalist lifestyle, you have to ask these kind of questions.
Exactly. And if it's not adding value, then it might be adding stress. And if it's adding stress on your life, then it's something that you really don't need. And some of those things that could be adding stress are things that you have to constantly maintain, constantly have to upgrade, constantly have to repair. And maybe it's something that you can actually lease or that you can rent when you need it. I'm going to give you a good example. We had a neighbor who had a camper when they wanted to go camping with their grandkids. And they probably only used it maybe every quarter, every 3 months or something like that. But because they couldn't park their camper in their driveway because of our homeowners association, they had to find a place that they could park it, and they were actually paying $300 and something a month just to park their camper. Now, $300 and something a month is probably around $7,000 or so a year, or more than that, I think. So if you can imagine that over 5, 6, and 7 years, or even 10 years, they could have done so many different things with that money. So those things in your life also that that is not adding value, but is actually adding stress to your life. And you need to identify what those things are for yourself. And if that's the case, and those very things are also bringing additional stress in your life because it's a financial hardship for you, then you really need to identify those. Because when we talk about minimizing, it is really minimizing and finding out what you need, not versus what do you want.
Okay, so the third reason we became minimalist is because what's great for us, we hate shopping. Can you believe that? And both of us actually hate shopping. So minimalist lifestyle was perfect for us. Now, neither of us like going to the mall. If I go to the mall, I know exactly why I'm going, and I know exactly what store I'm going to go to. So I go to the store, get what I had on my list, and I leave. Also, Char doesn't like going shopping for clothes. I don't like shopping for clothes. Because we both work from home, we don't need a lot of clothes. So shopping's not a priority for us, and it's not even something that we like anyway. When we do need things, we usually get it online anyway, and we get it at Amazon. If you can believe this, in 27 plus years of marriage, I've never gone grocery shopping. That's something I absolutely hate, and he actually now he does love grocery shopping. And you talk?
So I'm letting you say everything. Okay. I'm just sure. you're Ed McMahon. I'm filling in.
Okay. But anyway, so even, grocery shopping, I don't like doing that. Actually, I can't stand it. If I go to the grocery store, only thing I want to do is look at a magazine. But because Char loves to shop and he goes through every single aisle, then that's not fun to me. And so that's not something I like to do. So number 3 is that we're two minimalists that actually don't like shopping. And that's probably similar to many minimalists. It's easy for them to be minimalists because guess what? They don't really like shopping. And that's us too.
The 4th reason we became minimalists was to save more money. And so an example of that is we removed our cable bill from our budget, and actually we haven't had cable now for about 6 years. And that has saved us over the year, I think it saved us about $1,000 a year. So that's a lot of savings to give up some TV, don't you think? Another example that saved us more money in our budget is when we downsized to one car. And I know a lot of you are thinking, how in the world do you do that, downsize to one car? Well, actually, we work from home and we do a lot of things from home, so we were able to do that. Now, some people might not have that luxury, but if you can, downsizing to one car really helped us become a minimalist and live a minimalist lifestyle. Another example is going down to one cell phone plan. Now, I know a lot of times this is a very touchy situation, especially with people who want to have their own text messaging and stuff like that. But actually, with just one cell phone plan, we save about $700 a year. And that's a lot of money that you can put aside for a vacation or something else that you want to do to enjoy your life, right? So it's a little sacrifice, but it's worth it. And so
what I want to say is, if you add up just those 3 categories that Char had talked about, just those 3 categories added up to around $6,000 a year. And if you think about it, let's suppose you make $40,000 a year, and now you've just deducted 3 categories from your budget in the $6,000, and that brings you down to $34,000 a year. So you see that if you were to go through your budget and through different areas that you might be wasting, or different things that you could possibly do without, you can see how it frees up extra money in your spending and in your budget, so you have that extra money to save and invest or even pay down your debt. And so I encourage you to, think about minimizing, getting rid of waste in your life. Everyone has different areas in their life. It might be maybe you're buying too many books, too many magazines. Those are areas that people might overspend, and they can go to the library or read it online. It's just a number of different things. I don't know, those areas in your life. Only you do. Only you can take inventory and find out what they are. And you might already know, because it might already be causing you some pain in your life or a little bit of stress. But I encourage you to start thinking about, those areas that you can cut back on, and how you might be able to minimize, not only in your space, but in your spending, in all areas of your life.
And the 5th reason we became minimalists was to refocus on our priorities. And at this stage in our life, our priorities is to retire early. And we didn't have the amount in our retirement that we wanted. And so it was very important to us to accumulate as much as we could in a shorter period of time. And so in order to do that, we decided to downsize from our other home to the home that we're in now, and to rent out the other home and have that as another stream of income. Even though we had this one rented out, we decided, well, we'll reverse it and come here, because we knew that the expenses were less with the 2-bedroom, 2.5 bath, and we had an HOA and almost all of some of our utilities and all that homeowners, and all that was bundled up into our HOA, and it really came out to be cost us less every month to be able to live. And this is really a turnkey. We didn't have to pay for landscaping and all of those things. The pool, all of that is in our HOA. And so, we wanted to be able to have extra money to be able to put into our retirement, and cutting out like, cable, and just doing all those types of things. So our priority in minimizing was, really honing down on investing and having the extra money to be able to do that, and establishing extra streams of income, and then identifying what our needs are and our wants, and really, going on a piece, writing down on a piece of paper and saying, okay, do we really need this? Is this really necessary in our lives? Is this really a want, or is this really a need? And that's what we did. And then based on that, we were able to cut out things in our budget and find extra money in our budget to be able to put more into our retirement. And what we did was we, really in identifying our needs and our wants, we really were able to cut down what the minimum amount was that we needed to live on. And that extra money we actually all put in our retirement. And it really came down to, after we looked at everything, that we were really able to probably live on around or save about 60 or 70% of our money that we brought in, and just really focusing and making things just simple. And it's so much more freeing when you don't just have a lot of stuff that kind of like almost holds you hostage almost, and just letting it go and just getting rid of it. And so I encourage you to, really take the time to decide what is your priorities, whether you're single, whether you're engaged, married, if you've been married for a short time or a long period of time, it really doesn't matter, because everyone is at a different point in their life. But look at what your priorities are. Our priorities was investing and retiring early, and that's still our goal in retirement, and we're working towards that very diligently. And then looking at what are your needs and your wants, and cutting out the things that are wastes, that you're wasting your money, that you could be, accumulating to pay off debt or increase your net worth. And then focusing on if your life was more simple, what would that look like, and how would that bring value to your life as well?
If the 5 reasons we became minimalist video was helpful to you, then here's what I want you to do. Click below to subscribe. And don't forget, click that bell to be notified about future Love Reconciled videos. We have a lot more videos, and we want to share them with you, and we don't want you to miss one of them.
And be sure to like our video too.
Thank you so much for watching, and remember, love God more than anything.
And you'll do right by everything.
We love you. See you next Thursday.